So it's time to talk about the final two Mission Impossible films, Mission Impossible Rogue Nation and Mission Impossible Fallout. We've now caught Ben up completely. We're going to start with Mission Impossible Rogue Nation and then go into Fallout. So full spoilers for both of these movies. If you haven't seen them, you've been warned. But I'm assuming at this point you've probably seen them. So Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, written and directed by Christopher McQuarrie, came out in 2015, and I have no interesting factoids about this movie. So let's go into it. What do we think?
I will start
I really
off.
like it. Oh, I really like it.
I really like it.
As I was watching this film, about halfway through, I picked up my phone and I sent Brandon a text message. That text message was something along the lines of, how do these movies just keep getting better after the last one?
It's true.
And with Rogue Nation, that is true. With Fallout, I will say it's also true, but we're not going to talk about Fallout yet. We'll get there. But yeah, I am also, before we started recording, I told Brandon I'm kind of mad at myself for taking this long to watch these, because I loved Rogue Nation. I had a blast with Rogue Nation. We'll get into it, but yeah, initial thoughts, absolutely adore this movie.
This is my favorite opening in the franchise, which also has one of my favorite Ethan reveals, where he just like, where's Ethan? Can we get this? Can we stop this plane? What's going on? It's really well cut together between Benji and Brand and Luther, and having that three-way cut go around. I think it's really well cut. And then Ethan runs over the hill like, can you open the door? And I was like, oh, we're back, baby. We're back, baby.
Starting the movie with a big stunt. Like, damn, Tom, can't even wait an hour. You crazy.
I really like it. I will admit, I don't know if an opening will ever top the prison opening of Ghost Protocol, but yeah, I do really like it. It's a good movie. Good. It's a good movie.
Yeah,
I really. Go ahead, Ryan.
I was gonna say, like, we are now like officially like in the McQuarrie era, where like he and Tom are like, we are the guys behind all this stuff. And like I talked about last time how like what's the Brad Bird one already?
Ghost Protocol.
Ghost Protocol. Thank you. Like, I love the tone, and that is like a more kind of like fun spy movie. And there's a world where it continued that trajectory. But with McQuarrie, there's just something for me that just clicks with me a little bit more. And not, again, like, I love those movies. It's just something that I love, that it's a little not more like gritty. Maybe it's a little more gritty. I don't know what it is, but it's just something that works really well for me, where like the addition of Rebecca Ferguson, McQuarrie is so effing good at doing action scenes. Oh my God, dude. The cinematography, like the so much practical location, which all these movies do. It's just like, for me, like, this is like, oh shit, dude, like we are here, baby. And then Fallout's my favorite. So like, I just like, I love this movie. It's great.
I want to say that one of the things that I think is really incredible about this film, especially because like this is McQuarrie's first directed Mission Impossible film. He wrote and directed this one. I really appreciate that essentially this is the same plot as many of the Mission Impossible films, where Ethan has to go rogue. The IMF is disavowed. 4 disavowed the IMF when the secretary was killed. We're doing the same thing kind of here. And the fact that they're able to do it a second, third, fourth time, however many times they've done it, and make it and keep making it interesting and keep my investment, is actually kind of brilliant. And I'm surprised that is so, because I'm not distracted by the fact that like, oh, I've seen this kind of already. I'm seeing new within the familiar, I guess. It's a really good balancing act, I think.
Yeah. And please, Ben.
I will say that, I mean, when I say the opening starts you off quick, I'm not talking about the airplane scene, which I absolutely agree. I was waiting for that, like, because I was seeing the trailer with you guys years ago when this came out, like 2015 or whatever. And I was like, wow, that's probably like a huge part of the film. But the fact that the airplane scene is in the beginning is like, okay, cool, tone setter. But what really gets me is how quick the movie hits the ground, and it just like bolts you right. It's like you hit the word go after the title sequence, like especially when Ethan is there and he's getting the whole like his mission briefing, and the second it says, because we are the syndicate, I'm like, oh, I was thinking he's dreaming, he doesn't know what's going on. All the stuff is like, it has to be, because Mission Impossible likes to make you think one thing, and then like, haha, they pull the rug out from under you. It's like, surprise. But then when you see Solomon shoot the record store clerk, I'm like, oh shit, this is real.
I want to jump in because I was going to say as to what you were saying, Brandon, about how he keeps it fresh. It's what Ben is bringing up, is that you dive in with Ethan having already been on, the syndicate's tail. And so when you get your mission briefing for the first time ever, it's not from the IMF. You think it is until it isn't. It's the syndicate, and they've been preparing for Ethan. And like, this feels more like the I've been ready for you, Ethan, in a better way than like 2.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Right. This is the I know how you work. I've figured everything out because I have IMF agents in the syndicate who have defected, and like you're cooked. Like, we've got you from beat 1. And that really puts you, I think it puts Ethan on a back foot in a way I don't think, like right from the jump, in a way that I don't think any of the previous films had.
Yeah.
Sure. And I want to mention
the exception of 1.
Yeah. And I do want to mention that, like, what's really cool about that record sequence, it's really well shot. This movie's really well shot just in general.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys know that. But you can see Solomon Lane in the background. He's in the other booth. He's in that entire scene.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you don't know who that is, then that's just some dude. And I thought that's such brilliant filmmaking, and the reveal that it's the syndicate's message to Ethan and how it does it. Like, normally the IMF would say blah 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 blah, but we are that. It's such a good reveal and so well done.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Ben's very right. Like, it gets you just right into what's going on in this story. It's just a way we've never had Ethan picked up in a mission before.
Yeah.
Again, with maybe kind of the exception of 1, but even this is different. Right?
It's so much quicker in this one too. It's like the beginning.
Well, and it's there's a different drive, which is like the bad guys already have Ethan.
Yeah.
At the start of the movie, they've captured him. And in the first one, while Ethan does end up on the back foot, it's because IMF suspects him of being a traitor.
Yeah.
Which is a different thing. But here you're like, oh shit, Ethan's already caught.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where are we going from here?
And I love that our villain is, again, you bring up 2, and it's actually a good point, is our villain is an ex-British super spy. And bro, that dude's too smart. And what I love about this movie is, and I caught it, and it's also in follow-up because this is now serialized. Fun fact, Tom Cruise notes the MCU for helping serialize Mission Impossible. And it is the best thing because, like, I love these movies and what they're doing with this is like a better MCU than the MCU at this point, like just the way it's serialized and shit. But our villain is so awesome, and he's so sniveling, and like he doesn't seem very threatening physically, but also like he does get into fights, and he is a super spy. And I'm like, this dude's awesome, and like his like voice alone like makes my skin crawl. He's so good at being like a crazy villain. I just love it, and I love the idea of like, oh, it's the anti-IMF. I'm like, that's such a silly thing. I love it.
I thought Philip Seymour Hoffman was my favorite villain until I met Solomon Lane.
Yes.
Now, like, I mean, with this and Fallout, I'm like, no, he's like the best.
The 1-2 punch.
It's I'll be honest with you, Ben, because like I don't want to dip too far into Fallout, but it is the 1-2 punch. Like, if I went just off Rogue Nation, like when we were rewatching Rogue Nation, I'm like, this doesn't cap Hoffman to me, not in performance.
Yeah,
like he's definitely getting like as far as like how he's written to be pervasive on Ethan, like it's definitely a grander threat.
Yeah,
but Hoffman brings that performance so heavily. But like it is him having the dual performances of Solomon Lane that put Solomon Lane a little bit up. Though I do notice like just this like really different tactic on the neurosis between this and Fallout, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, but he very much shifts how he's handling the character.
That's true.
Yeah. I don't want to go too far into Rogue Nation, but I will say the scene that just like got me or one of the scenes that cemented Solomon as one of I will not lie, it does go back and forth between Hoffman and Solomon, where they finally catch Solomon. He's in the glass box and he's just constantly shooting in the bulletproof glass. And just that actor, his facial expressions, like the sheer rage and anger that he's expressing, but he's not expressing it in a normal way. Like when you see rage, you furrow brows, just like constantly yelling and screaming, but he's just shooting and futile shooting. And he's just like, and when the gas fills to him, just like clamoring just to look at Ethan. I don't know what it was, but just that performance where he's in the gas cloud trying to fight getting knocked subconscious or trying to get out of consciousness or whatever. That was like, this man has hate.
That's a mirror from the beginning of the movie too. Yeah.
He's a pretty generic bad guy, to be honest with you, except that what Sean Harris, right?
Yes.
Does with the performance is create a character who feels like there's no way he can lose.
Yeah.
And so when he loses, he takes it deeply personal. And this does carry over to Fallout. Obviously, like, he's personally vindictive, like, after a vendetta
It's
against
so much
Ethan.
more personal.
But also, again, the same thing, like, end of Fallout. I'm convinced I cannot lose. And it's what's good about what Harris brings to the role is that conviction of I'm obviously in control, and how flustered he gets when Ethan has him over a barrel in the last bit, because he just could not have possibly anticipated Ethan destroying the disc and memorizing it.
Yeah.
He just never in a million years would have thought Ethan would ever go that way.
True.
Because little did he know that Ethan has developed a new superpower, which is like photographic memory.
Yeah.
Three-dimensional thinking, if you will.
Yeah.
I love I agree with everything you guys are saying about Solomon Lane, but I want to mention Alec Baldwin is in this. He shows up as Director Huntley from the CIA. Huntley. And that's kind of a cute, cheeky reference to the fact that he was Jack Ryan in The Hunt for Red October. So CIA spy with IMF spy. This also sets up the kind of CIA versus IMF thing that McQuarrie plays with in both movies. Which I think is kind of interesting that he's playing with that idea. But Hunley is the one who gets the IMF taken down, and he go ahead.
I was just gonna say, which importantly, like, CIA is not a fan of IMF to begin with.
Yeah.
And as Hunley references it, ever since they broke into a CIA place in the very first film to steal a bunch of names, like, I thought that was a really good way to organically be like, yeah, CIA is not a big fan ever since they did that.
And because like the IMF also, like, they can do more than the CIA. Like they have the gadgets and the fun stuff, but
he's jealous.
I think Hunley is actually a really good character that I liked following in both of these movies, and he's in one of my favorite scenes in the whole franchise, which is the best line in the whole franchise. Hunt is the living manifestation of destiny.
And right now you are his target. Cut to Hunt's reveal. Hunt.
Yes. Very good. That's such
and everything.
That's such a great moment because you're like, Ethan's in the room. Who is Ethan? Like, if you haven't seen the movie, it's like, which one of you is Ethan?
Yeah.
The thing is, like, what I realized watching these two this week is what McQuarrie has managed to do is, like, these movies should be cheesy.
Yeah.
They should be too cheesy. But somehow they just aren't. And, like, they're doing all the things that should make them too cheesy, but they just don't feel cheesy.
He's doing it all like in like it's serious earnestness. Like it's very much like we know what we're doing is ridiculous, but like we can have fun with it when we have fun, but like we do take it seriously.
But even with the like zoom in and the hunt, like it's a funny beat, but it's not a funny beat that breaks the movie.
It's a different type of
comedy. It doesn't break
though.
The tone of it.
Yeah.
In a way where like some James Bond movies couldn't escape this and felt too cheesy.
Yeah.
Mission Impossible 2, frankly, in my opinion, couldn't escape it. But something here, he's able to inject that kind of feeling without letting the movie feel like it cheapens itself by doing so.
And if you look at Renner's performance in that scene, also it's very kind of he's kind of becoming a little over the top. It's like, Athlete shot me. Yes, he did, sir. Now the prompt is like he's kind of playing up the scene a bit, and he's kind of fun in that way. But again, it doesn't break the movie. They're walking a really fine line with that tone.
I'm a noted Jeremy Renner hater. I think he's fun. I think he gets better in each one of these movies.
You know what I think it is? I think it's that McQuarrie knows how to guide the actors to center their performances around Cruise, because Cruise himself can be cheesy.
Yeah.
But because of the way that he orchestrates the film around Cruise, that doesn't feel cheesy. And therefore, when the other actors are meeting that level and working in it organically because he's crafted them to, they also don't feel cheesy.
It's
Yeah.
yes,
Because they are meeting Tom Cruise on that level.
yeah. This is a movie where one guy pulls out a flute and turns into a sniper, and then a woman pulls out a gun from a scaffolding, and then Tom Cruise is like, "Who do I shoot?" There's 2 assassins. And
There's
I'm like,
another guy pulling out a submachine gun out of a nightstick.
And the scene is both hilarious and tense.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wanted to say, like, once again, Tom Cruise proving he's a very good physical actor. There's the scene when he gets blown into the airplane, right? When in the beginning.
Oh my god!
Oh, it
what a
hurts.
shot!
Oh,
And he does like the guy comes down and you just hear and you just turn around and Hunt's there like and like he does not a word and he's just kind of like just fails.
I actually love.
Well, I was gonna say that like real quickly, Ben. Just like I just think Cruise like proves once again how physical of an actor he is. That's just because he can be really funny when he wants to be.
Yeah, I wanted to also highlight another scene that I thought was absolutely hilarious. That I thought it was funny, but also like Sparkz said, Christopher McQuarrie knows how to ride the line between cheesy and not cheesy, and still make a really good, intense movie. One of the scenes I loved was when they're in Morocco, and then the motorcycles zoom by, and then Brandt and Luther in the car, and they're trying to turn around. And it's like, you just had to get the
high-speed chase. High speed chase. You just had to get the 4x4,
and they're just bickering, and also I'm pretty sure it was it this one or Farlow where they're in a car, they drive past each other, and then Benji goes, "Hey!"
That's this one right before what you're talking about. The 4x4 is where he crashes in. There's a moment where they just look and they're like, and then they have to go.
Because like Ethan is still out of it because he was just dead 5 minutes ago, and he's just like,
He's talking about
this movie is like funny. Somehow Fallout's even funnier. Like there's some really good shit in both these movies, and I'm like, it's not as overtly like haha. But it's like it's all really good. It's like it's a lot of good physical stuff. Like Brandon said, like physical comedy.
The Moroccan sequence is especially the chase sequence is so funny. And like, right. I wanted to mention because Ryan brought up Renner, and I'm not really a Jeremy Renner hater. I quite like him, especially when he wants to be a little bit more funny. So here, I think he's great because he's able to play with this version of Brandt, and he's able to kind of play off of Tom Cruise, and the Luther Brandt dynamic works in a way I didn't know I needed.
Yeah, I really like them. I like that scene where they meet each other and Luther's like, I know Ethan, I don't know you.
Yeah.
And like his loyalty to Ethan is so strong, but Brandt's like, look, I swear to God, I'm on your side.
Yeah.
I need you to do this. The way that they get on board with each other is really good. I actually think the movie uses Renner really well. I think it was a really smart decision to take him back to the role we start with, where he's assisting the secretary, and put him back in the position of like kind of trying to manage what's happened to the IMF rather than being, another Ethan Hunt out there.
Yeah.
He's got field skills, but I'm glad they don't try to push him into that mode. Like he could be out there, he could be doing some of the action, but like they don't try to have him be side by side with Ethan.
Yeah.
They know that he works better for the franchise in this role.
Sparkz, I can neither confirm nor deny without the secretary's permission.
It's
good.
It really works for him. It really works for his character to be in this position, and I really like it. I think it was a really, really smart choice.
One of the other things I absolutely love about this, and obviously with Fallout, because like you guys said, Rogue Nation is how the Mission Impossible films started becoming more serialized, and the events of the past have consequences for the first one. That Senate hearing, when they when Huntley, Alec Baldwin's character, straight up says, is like, yeah, we're not big fans because they broke into the CIA to steal stuff, and they mentioned what happened in Ghost Protocol. They're mentioning stuff in other movies, but even though they're just mentioning stuff in other movies, to me, because a lot of those events have consequences, even though they're not major consequences, they're still consequences that the IMF and Ethan have to go through in these movies.
Fallout.
And like Huntley makes a really good case that I think is accurate, where he's like, to be honest, some of their successes from a gathered perspective look a lot like chance and luck. And he's not wrong. Like they have Ethan's good, but like a lot of it has come down to just getting very lucky.
His superpower is luck.
That's what the next film is. It plays off really well. It's like we hope and we got lucky.
Yeah. And I think that's very valid to put it in this perspective of like, while you are rooting for Ethan, you are on Ethan's side. We have followed him. He's our protagonist for the series. It's not like Hunley's cases here are wrong. No. The IMF, especially in the hands of Ethan with the way they handle missions, like Hunt just believes very hardly that he will get the codes back in Ghost Protocol. And so it's okay that they get the real codes. And Hunley's like, that is effing insane. Yeah. You understand that that's crazy? A missile clipped a building because of how close you cut it. Like,
I cannot confirm nor deny.
It's a valid argument, but it doesn't change the fact that it's a thrill to watch Ethan do this shit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like seeing Alec Baldwin's kind of trajectory, and to what Ben and Sparkz was kind of playing off of, and I was kind of saving this note for Fallout, but McQuarrie has such reverence for the previous entries in this franchise. It feels like he has been the shepherd of the entire franchise when he hasn't. Every entry has been written by, up until this point, a different person, and so you have him really like tying it all together in such an organic way that makes it feel like one cohesive franchise, even though the first 4 entries in this are largely standalone.
Yeah, I think like it does feel that with Rogue Nation, McQuarrie came in and looked at all the previous Mission Impossible and said, what works and what doesn't? And I'm keeping what works, and I'm not going to deal with what doesn't. And what works is the thing that we're going to focus on and keep plugging away with. So like what is great about Ethan, what's great about Luther, what's great about how these characters rely on each other, how these characters connect to each other, all that kind of stuff. I also have a note related to that I'll save for Fallout, but I think McQuarrie like really gathered an idea of kind of boiling down formulaically, like what is the strongest stuff inside of the Mission Impossible franchise, and then how can I take that to the next step.
Is this the one where with the locks where you put it in the door and you see the lock? Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Every time,
dude. Opera.
Every time, I love it.
Oh, the opera scene. But actually, one of the things I wanted to, what I really enjoyed about Mission Impossible 1 through 4 was that they were anthology stories in a way. As in each one, as Sparkz said, they're their own story, they're their own thing. They might have a quick little mention, but with these two, obviously, while it's not a bigger cohesive narrative, they're still more or less standalone. It does help watching the other films.
Yeah.
And it's not like one of those, it's like, oh, you have to watch all these films to understand what's going on in this film. You don't, but it kind of helps.
It helps because we get a better picture of who Ethan is as a character. When we get to Rogue Nation and Fallout, especially, we know what the line Ethan is willing to cross and what he is doing this for largely. And so that is the value that McQuarrie kind of went to by being like, oh, well, I'm looking at what works. What works is Ethan is pretty consistent. Not so much in 2, so he discounts 2, but like, he is pretty consistent all throughout, and he builds on who Ethan has been.
Except the rock climbing.
Except the rock climbing does come back.
I think the other thing about it is that he zeroes in on letting the world and the characters acknowledge the history of who Ethan has been and what Ethan has been put through, whether that's through Luther or through this comes out more directly in Fallout, but like Solomon Kane is pushing an argument to Ethan like, you should really just be part of the Syndicate too. How many times have they screwed you over?
Yeah.
And it's fair, like it's a fair argument to bring up at this point.
It's true.
That like the majority of the previous Mission Impossible movies are someone, if not the entire IMF, kind of screwing him over.
Bring up Solomon Kane and the Syndicate again. I really like the idea of the Syndicate, where like England was like, we want an IMF, so we're gonna make the Syndicate. Solomon Kane, help us. Solomon Lane, not the 18th century vampire hunter man. Solomon Lane, like, hey, we want you, Solomon Lane, to be our Ethan Hunt. And he's a sociopathic man. He's like, all right, this is not going to work. We're canceling this. He didn't cancel it. He kept it around. He's like, I'm going to do my thing all over the world. I hate hate governments and shit. So like he's gonna kill a bunch of people, and that's great. I think that's great. I think it's even better in Fallout, like the direction it goes in Fallout. But like I just think he's a really cool villain. I just like the idea of like, you know, so many missing or dead agents joining this rogue nation. Like again, I hate bringing up bringing up Metal Gear Solid. Like that is the entire plot of Big Boss's thing. Is he is a man who wants a nation for soldiers, because like the military industrial complex spits out soldiers and kills them, and like he wants a place where they can live freely and be mercenaries. He's also a mass murderer, so he's a bad guy. So I'm like, sometimes these people shouldn't be in power like Solomon Lane. Not everyone can be an Ethan Hunt, and I think like the show's like, Ethan Hunt is really special. That's a special dude. He has super luck powers. Thank God for that.
And kind of speaking to some of what you're saying with it, I think that I lost it. Go ahead, Brandon. I'll find it again.
Well, I was gonna shout out because I think we kind of passed over the opera scene, which I think the sound design in the opera scene is incredible. The way they kind of mute some of the people's sound effects and just have the opera music playing, which becomes part of Ilsa's theme later in the movie, which I really like.
I love her.
Good.
I was going to say, I think everything about the opera scene is so well constructed. I think the use of the location, how they compose the shots, where they are throughout, like the building, where they go, how they
big
travel,
man fight,
all of that is really, really excellently executed. And it's so like the antithesis of the theatrical scene you got in Quantum of Solace.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
One of the things that's so interesting about that scene specifically is it also showcases probably some of my favorite gadgets in the whole franchise, which is the flute gun, the flute rifle, which is incredible. The laptop in the book.
Yes. In the pamphlet for the opera is a laptop.
So good.
Yeah.
Some of the best gadgets are in this one.
Yeah.
And then as Ryan mentioned, the key gadget is my favorite also. It's the way they use it.
I love Simon Pegg in all those movies that he's in. Mm-hmm. Like when Simon Pegg is on his laptop, is like, join the IMF, see the world from the basement. Simon Pegg's just an absolute treasure.
Real quick on Simon Pegg. Sorry, real quick. He was playing on his 3 Dell monitors, Halo 5 Guardians.
I saw
they
that.
wanted you to make sure. Did you guys see that I was playing Halo 5 Guardians out this November? And I'm just like, man, sometimes marketing is really funny.
Speaking of Benji, what I think makes Rogue Nation so special and work is while we have our team, Luther and Renner are separate for a lot of the film and trying to be supportive and find Ethan, but they are separated from him. Mm-hmm. And Benji also is for a time, but catches up. And so you get a lot of Benji and Ethan time and them in the field, just the two of them, which feels really nice. And then of course Ilsa getting on top of that, but like just putting those two on their own, Benji feels really good.
Thought he was going to the opera, my guy. Oh.
Poor guy.
Benji has a moment where Ethan's like, you need to go. I'm sorry I wrapped you into this. Here's what you say. And he has this moment to stand. It's like, no, I'm your friend. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I really like Ethan's like, okay, we're doing this.
Yeah. You're right. I am a field agent now.
Regardless of what I might say on the polygraph, you are my friend.
Yes. Good liar. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say he had me believe him. I was like, you don't really think that, do you, Benji? But you have to cover it.
Yeah, because there's a blip at the end, like there's a little blip, and you're like, oh, Benji.
Yeah, Benji. The scene I really want to talk about. Then when I was watching it, to me, I was like, this is one of the most beautifully shot chase scenes I've ever seen in my entire life, was the motorcycle chase scene through Morocco.
Oh, yeah, dude.
For sure.
That scene was so well shot. Because there are times like, I'm not like that stereotypical guy that whenever you see a car chase, I'm like, oh yeah, car chase. I mean, car chases are cool, but you've seen a whole lot of them. Yes. This one, I was on the edge of my seat. I was 100% engaged. I was like, my heart was racing when they're bobbing and weaving throughout when the syndicate goons are shooting or when Ethan like gets them to trick into getting hit by other cars. The whole thing with Ilsa when she steps out in front, and I'm just like the whole time sitting there going, they had to have hired MotoGP racers for those stunts, because that is some crazy shit.
Yes, but also like you can watch some behind the scenes shit of Tom Cruise doing that shit too. He is a truly an insane person.
Yeah.
And he can hold his breath for 6 minutes because of this movie.
So that's the thing is like that motorcycle chase scene is gorgeous. I think that the dive into changing the memory card scene and that cutting between that and Benji about to walk through and you know what'll happen if it can't read him.
So tense, dude.
Is the most tense scene that they've created since the first one.
Sure.
I think it truly captures the same kind of like a modern new version of what the first one was trying to do in a way that none of the previous Mission Impossibles, to be fair, didn't really attempt to do.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody tried to recreate or outdo the first one. And this one I feel like brought us back to that tense heist. Oh no, here we go. And you know, like while we're hearing the sound of the water, otherwise it's silent.
Yeah.
Scene.
And again, we have a beautiful moment after where Ethan almost dies, and we get great comedy of Benji's like, that was so easy. That was like barely an inconvenience, as Ethan is literally dying in front of him. Like, oh right, I wasn't doing the hard part.
Well, and they do a good job of letting you know who Ilsa is, right? Even as she will screw them over in the next beat.
Yeah.
She saves Ethan. And like you know from her saving Ethan, like, okay, Ilsa's not the bad guy.
Y'all.
Yeah.
There may be stuff going on, but she is not the bad guy.
Ilsa Faust is
Ferguson
is the best thing to happen to this franchise in such a long time.
She's so
because we've gotten like new characters here and there, but like she is just such a talent and such a force. I also just love her in Dune. She's just incredible, and she's a vampire lady in the Doctor Sleep movie. She's great.
So real quick, I want to go back to the tank sequence, especially after it, because Ryan mentioned we get a really good scene after that, and we get a really good scene with Benji, which is really interesting, which is really good because when we're setting up that heist sequence, and I want to talk a little bit about the heist, which Benji is like, oh, so we need to hold your breath for 3 minutes. You can do that. And Ethan, and it's like, oh, you need to hold your breath for 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And Ethan's like, I guess so. Like, he's like, why are you telling me I can do this?
Volunteering him for it. Like, Ethan can do anything. And Ethan's like, I think that's very good. I also noted, because we watch these so close to each other now, and I'm very curious if Dead Reckoning will continue this trend. When McQuarrie gets behind the wheel, we always get one imagined how it'll go sequence.
Oh yeah.
Which is we get the one where we think Benji has put on the mask and what he's doing, but they're actually imagining how it'll go. So Benji still doesn't get to put on a mask in this movie.
That's true.
No. But then like in Fallout, we'll get it again when Ethan's imagining what he'll have to do to get Lane out
to kill all the cops.
And we come back, and I find it interesting. We don't get that a lot. The imagined how it'll go sequences.
Imagine Dragons.
One of the things that I find so interesting about heist sequences is the setup, because on paper, if you were to be like, hey, okay, so we can use that. Actually, you can't use that because it's da 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 da. Okay, we'll do that. Well, you can't do that because da 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 da. It's like you're making things up as you're going along, but because you've got like cool heist music and it's well shot, you're like, okay, so we can't use the hash because okay, and you're setting up all these problems, because you have to pay them off later.
Yeah,
you have to pay off all these problems that are going to go on. So it creates this like really interesting tension, and just like I think McQuarrie gets like the what's the word I'm looking for, which is the oh boy, skeleton of a heist sequence. Skeleton is not the right word, but like
foundation.
Yeah, I guess we're kind of in the same ballpark with Foundation. Yeah, he kind of gets the foundation of what a heist sequence needs to be, and that's just really cool, really fun to see.
Yeah. I think McQuarrie. These are like all the Mission Impossible movies are complicated to some degree, just a little spy shit. The thing that I super appreciate.
It was DNA, the DNA of a heist sequence.
There you go, DNA. What I really love about McQuarrie is that both of these two movies are almost overly complicated with the amount of times that like Solomon Lane is 3 steps. Solomon Kane, goddamn it. Solomon Lane. No, it's okay. Solomon Lane is 3 steps ahead. That's what he thinks. What you want to do is what he thinks we got to do. There's a lot of that stuff, like trying to be 3 steps ahead, and like in other movies, that's really annoying. And I've watched shows or TV shows where like your villain is so smart, he's always 3 steps ahead. But like in these movies, like it all always makes sense to me, and I feel it. It never feels like a stretch. I just think like the overcomplicated nature of these types of movies, like I think they flow really easily in these two movies, because like they can be really confusing about whose side you on. Elsa switches sides every 5 minutes, but I think the trajectory is very easy to line up for every character for both movies.
I want to second what Ryan is saying, because I also agree that when there's like, oh, you have to think 3 steps ahead. This guy's so smart. He knows where your every move. It's like he has ESP or something. In other franchises and other films and television shows, that can be annoying. It's like, for crying out loud, no, they're not. But this one, but Mission Impossible, especially Mission Impossible, I'm like, I'll lump all the movies in it for this one. You have to think all that step ahead. But even when you, as an audience member, think you know what's going on, and then they do the famous mask reveal, every single time, in this one, and especially in Fallout, we'll get to there, I am just like, oh, like when the mask comes off, like when the major plan is revealed, I'm just like, oh.
Yeah, I think what's really good about how the Mission films just in general are written, we get, because Ethan's such a strong character, he gets to play a really obsessive version of himself here that gets played up for us to believe that maybe Renner would second guessing the plan that they're going to come up with. And he has this moment because he's like, Lane's already thought of all this, because he sounds like a madman.
Yeah.
But he's right. And that's what makes Lane so scary, is because no one believes Ethan that this person could be this bad.
Yeah. Yeah, I love,
except Ilsa.
Yeah, I love.
Except Ilsa.
And I love, and I forget the Ilsa's British guy, like the evil guy who
Atlee.
Thank you. Yeah. Like when he shows up, I'm like, no, this guy, I can tell he's bad news already. And I love that, like, I love that the phone is under the newspaper and she put the thing on there, and like that's a very specific, that's very specific that had to happen. And I'm like, that's just spy shit. That's so fun that like he knew that was gonna happen or whatever. Like, I think all that stuff is really fun, and you have to go with the flow of like coincidental type stuff. Like, what if she didn't put it directly on top of the newspaper? Like, would those files have been deleted? Like, I don't really care. It's just fun. Like, I just like, it's just a go with the flow fun.
I think you're absolutely correct when you say that Rebecca Ferguson is one of the best things to happen to this franchise. She's incredible. Her scenes with Ethan are great. There's one moment in Casablanca, Morocco, whatever, when he and she are talking about what this heist is going to be, like setting up, like, this is the list of all the people that Lane has in his service, and Lane sent me to get it. Benji is talking in this scene, but Ilsa and Ethan never take their eyes off each other when they're talking to Benji. I thought that's such an interesting character choice, to just see that kind of level of trust that they've already built in such a little time.
It's I don't know that it's that Ethan has ever, like, he's definitely met other cool super spies, but like to meet someone that obviously he's attracted to, but like someone that's on his level, that like understands the world that he lives in, that's not someone like his wife. Like, I think that's like just like not something that you get to experience in life very often. So I think there's just an immediate like you are almost like belong in my life type of feeling.
I think what it is with her introduction, Ethan knows the same thing he knows is true about himself, which is that Ilsa is a person who is doing this job because she cares about saving millions.
Yes.
But she also won't do it at the cost of a good person.
Yes.
And Ethan is also that person, because it's the choice she makes about coming close to blowing her cover to save him that is like, this is what I would have done.
Yeah.
And I think that's what ultimately endears him to her.
They're similar, yeah.
Is that she has that same compassion that Ethan has.
Yeah.
Sick ass scene also where he's just like, screw it, and hooks himself up over the pipe.
God, yeah, like the salmon lighter type thing from Arrow almost. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like her. I'm glad she's carried over this long.
Same.
I do want to focus a little bit more on the getting the Prime Minister scene, because I just think that sequence is so
Prime Minister Cutler Beckett.
Yeah. I think that's such an excellent scene, because like I said before, like, that Ethan is in the room somewhere. He's one of these people. You just don't know who. Yeah. Alec Baldwin kind of realizing who Ethan Hunt is in the moment of being like, there is no person he cannot become. There is no thing that he cannot do. He's the greatest person in the whole world. He's the living manifestation of destiny, and he has made you his mission. One of the greatest lines in cinema history. And you're like, okay, well, you're not Ethan. And but then Atlee shooting the prime minister, revealing to Ethan, you're like, baby, yes.
The way and the again, like, it's very funny, but Hunley's Hunt delivery lands so well because Hunley has been talking about Hunt this way, and then they are finally brought face to face in this scene.
Yeah.
It works so well. By the way, shout outs to the lead into that scene. If you look in the car lot before they head inside, there is an Aston Martin, very particular one, parked out front, which is cute and cheeky and fun.
Sure.
It is because Spectre filmed in the same location.
Oh, that makes sense. That's cute.
Yeah, okay. The 6 months bit where it's like, mark your set your watch, Brand. Ethan is living his last day as a free man 6 months later.
6 months later.
Very good.
And also like the whole takeaway that they think he's in Cuba, and then he turns out he's in Paris the whole time, and it's just like
And I really like the syndicate reveal. And once again, going back to that greatest scene ever, where he's like where they're like something called the syndicate, and the prime minister's like, Atlee, tell me they're not talking about that syndicate.
Yeah. Do you mean our syndicate?
Right, yeah.
And he's got that. And he's got this moment. I think that's such a good reveal.
Yeah.
Yes, and then Hunley being like, the syndicate is real.
Yeah.
The myth.
I think that's really good. I really like. I really can't stress enough that I think Pegg plays with Cruise so well.
Yeah.
I think he has in the previous films, but like they're just in a groove. That I think they were in a groove last time, but like they play so well together. Clearly, Cruise has a good time, or he wouldn't keep doing it. With Pegg in all the movies, constantly having him be the voice in his ear, and the way that they banter to each other.
Yeah. Making him a field agent was such a good idea, because there was a world where he was just like another, like Luther goes into field too, but just like Benji is just the tech guy. And he's just like the Flash, like from the Flash, like, oh, I'm just sitting at the computer all day. So
they have done a good job of diversifying this sense of like, they are both tech guys, but their tech's expertises are different.
Yeah. He's like,
and like one can do the field work more than the other.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And we get like Luther once again being one of the best characters in the franchise. There's a bit when Ilsa and Ethan they're sitting together in the mall area, and Ilsa presents him with all the options, and then presents him with, or we can just leave. And you hear Ilsa's theme play a little bit, and then you hear Luther go, oh boy.
Yeah.
because he's like, oh shit, this could work.
Yes. It's a similar feeling to the end of the Batman with Batman and Catwoman. We're like, we can get out of here. And I'm like, Bruce, say yes.
Yeah. And Luther knows that, like, oh shit, Ethan could say yes.
Hell yeah.
I really like how that scene is shot, by the way, like how we get the other people in the ear, and then like when Elsa's like, you knew the disc was blank, and we hear Benji first say, no, that was an exact copy. But every camera angle not centers, but like we can see either Luther, Brandt, or Benji at every camera level until we can't see Benji.
Yeah.
When he's captured. I think that's such a cool framing device.
Yeah.
Corey's a goat. He's the goat.
Okay. There's a sequence. Sorry, I really like this movie, so I wrote down some things I really liked, which is when they're running through the streets of Paris.
Nope, that's
Paris?
Fallout.
Where are they run? Whatever. Before they get laying into the box, there's Ilsa and Ethan are running through the streets, and they kill two people in a car in front of them, and then both jump over the car.
Yes.
And I was just like, that's sexy as hell.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
Because the setup for that was earlier after Ethan comes back from and he crawls over the thing.
Oh yeah. After
like,
his heart stops and he gets juice backed up, and he's like, I'm totally fine, and starts running and stumbles. Yeah.
I love so much Benji being like, well, you were just dead 5 minutes ago. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's really good. I really like that sequence. Ben mentioned the motorcycle chase being really great. It's the car chase for me, and I'll tell you exactly why. Because of the drift into the two motorcycles and then hitting the dude with the other car, which is so good.
That is good.
It rips.
I love that sequence because it's just such a cool like drift motion. I like that movie.
Some things I highlighted are I think this was an example of just the humor still being good is like when they come down on the rope from the opera and the thing was loose and then it falls behind them. But what I really like is that Ethan just wound his tie very quickly around his hand and used it so he could get down that rope. I thought that was slick.
Yeah.
A great scene between Ilsa and Lane, where she says, "Are you questioning my loyalty or my ability?"
Both.
And then he was like, "Can't decide."
Yeah, can't decide.
I thought that was really good. It's a strong Lane setup scene. Yeah, I really, really love Benji insisting to Ethan that he is his friend. Like once he knows what's going on, he's like, "I'm staying." That's the end of what we're talking about. That and like Ethan's like, "Okay,
Got it.
Got it.
all right." Jeez, why are you getting so upset?
I am an FBI agent.
The scene at the end in the diner in the restaurant when Benji is talking as Lane is a really tense and good scene.
Yeah, it's very good. It's
I really like
good.
I really like at the end of it when they're going to take Ethan and he's like, "If they come any closer, shoot me." And Ilsa just immediately like,
yeah. Like she gets the exact same thing he's doing. It's like this is how we put Lane completely off.
It's also fun that he literally says, "I'm going to put you in a box," and he really does. He really does.
I love it. Benji in the car when Cruz is chasing the motorcycles for the first chunk, and just like scared out of his wits, just stairs.
Oh, there's a lot of bumpy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I like the bit when they're backing up really fast. They're like, "You have your seatbelt on? You're asking me now?"
Yeah. When the
And
car
just
flips
barrels.
over, when the car flips over, which is a great action beat, and then it sits there for a bit, and then Benji like, what happened?
Yeah, this is a good movie, guys.
It's true, every word.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I can't fight the friction on this one.
Rate it.
I think the score is pretty good in this one, but I do think I still prefer Ghost Protocols over this one.
Yes,
for just music. It's hard to top Giacchino being jazzy.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree for this movie. Yes.
I outside of Ilsa's theme coming back and using the opera riff, that I agree with that. I like that.
It's a good score.
Yeah.
It's not a bad score by any means. I really like what Giacchino did with the previous one.
Oh yeah.
Well,
I really love the scenario that they set up for Baldwin with Atlee. Just highlighting that. I think the way that they talk him into it is like, and this is what you did. Yes, exactly. And he's like, I'm very grateful. It's a really good way. And like the turnaround at the end on how Hunley becomes the secretary is, I think, an excellent like beat and end to the story in this.
He tried to take him down, then he joined them.
That's what the IMF does, baby.
Yeah.
And just a last shout out for the actor who played the Bone Doctor. I think he's just one of the best henchmen we've had.
Oh yeah, the Bone Doctor.
Like,
I saw.
I think just like every time you see him, like you're pissed off.
Yeah.
And I think he's just one of the best henchmen that we've had for one of these guys. Yeah. In the movies.
There's a great line where he talks where Ethan in the restaurant sequence at the end says, "You'll have to use the Bone Doctor to get this out of me." Where I was like, "Oh yeah, baby, this is good."
Bone Doctor. What a reputation.
Okay. Shall we? So rate it. So Ryan, because you said some final thoughts first, why don't you rate it?
I will give it. God, these are all good movies, man. I'll give this a 9 out of 10. This is a great movie.
Sparkz?
Yeah, really solid entry. I think it's really fun. I think like it just misses the mark of perfection for me. It's just a little below. I think Lane. I like the performance of Lane more than I like the actual characterization, like the character motivation of Lane. And that's one of the big things that like holds back for me. But otherwise, I think it's really, really solid. I give it the same rating I gave Ghost Protocol. It's a 9.
It's a Ghost Protocol.
Do you know what rating I gave Ghost Protocol?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Well, whatever that rating is, let's say it's 9. It's 9.
I'm sure it was something 0.5.
Let's just say it's 9 now. So yeah, I'm a 9 as well. This is a great movie.
Yeah, 9s across the board. This movie was great.
Can't fight the 9s.
Okay, so then let's move into Mission Impossible Fallout, aka Mission Impossible 6. Once again, This came out in 2018. Once again, written and directed by Christopher McQuarrie. He is the first director to return to the franchise.
Nice.
And my interesting factoid about this movie is that he didn't want to. He thought it was very important that every Mission Impossible film was directed by a different person. He felt that was the joy of these films, is the different creative voices. And Sean Harris, by the way, was supposed to die at the end of this movie. That was in his contract. Sean Harris did not want to do a franchise. He didn't even want to do this movie. They convinced him by saying, you can die at the end of Rogue Nation. But the way McQuarrie told it on the Empire podcast is that he had this idea that Ethan needs to break Lane out of prison for some reason. He hadn't quite gotten the whole thing, but he had that idea, and he went to Tom Cruise, and according to McQuarrie, Tom Cruise turned around before McQuarrie could even say anything and said, "I got to break Lane out of prison in the next movie." So then they had to convince Sean Harris to return, to not die at the end of Rogue Nation.
I refuse.
But like he said, he thought it was very important. So that idea convinced him to stay on as director, but he hired a whole new crew in order to make it feel like it was a different movie than Rogue Nation.
That's cool. That's fun.
So what do we think of this one?
This is my favorite. I love this movie. I personally, I think this is almost like a perfect action movie. Like, and the fact that it's 2.5 hours long, and like for me, it's like a breeze. I think it has the best action. I think it has the best like cinematography. I think the villains are a great 1-2 combo. I think like Tom Cruise just like continues to impress me with everything he does. Like he is so committed as a performer. Like that dude just like wants to entertain us so badly. And I love it. I think this is a phenomenal action movie.
Sparkz?
Just excuse me real quick. Just copy, paste.
Love it. I didn't know that. That's great. I didn't know that. That's awesome.
This is not my favorite in the franchise. It surprising even me, is still Ghost Protocol. But this is a great movie. Once again, another excellent Mission Impossible film. I don't think from 3 onward there is a bad one, and I can't imagine that Dead Reckoning breaks that trend. So yeah, I love this one. I think this one's awesome.
Look, if 2 weren't there, this would be a all good franchise.
Yeah.
Oops, all bangers.
Yeah.
All good.
Yeah.
Even I think 2 is better than the most of the reputation it has. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen.
Sure.
Ben, what do you think about Fallout? First time watching Fallout?
How do these movies keep getting better than the last one? It is not fair. I don't want to say this is my favorite. I actually feel, I mean, now obviously we haven't seen Dead Reckoning, but I feel like Rogue Nation and Fallout are really good back-to-back films.
They really are. They pair very nicely together.
I mean, I don't know if this is a cop-out, but like Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation, and Fallout, they're my top 3.
Yeah.
I love these movies. Ghost Protocol was like, it was a great time, but with Rogue Nation and the start of Fallout, where you get the dream sequence where he's getting married to, like the second the Paramount logo disappears and you see, sorry, I'm just going to dive right in. I hope that's okay. The second you see Ethan and Julia, the fact that they brought Julia back, I was like, oh yay. And I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And
right, because you think because you're kind of clocked into it being a dream sequence with Julia being there. And you're like, this is when they got married, and then it's Lane, and you're like,
but we've watched the film recently enough. We know that's not when they got married.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
Yeah, because they got
so we know. If you remember, this is not how this went.
You declare these 2 to be married.
And then once Lane starts saying all like to lie to her, to live your double life, and all this stuff, and then he goes, what? And then of course when it goes to Solomon, because I had no idea, because I mean I thought they just got to put it was up to Rogue Nation, it was standard bad guy either dies or gets thrown in jail. That's what happens. And then when it cuts to Solomon and it's like, you should have killed me when you had the chance, I was like, oh, so
they
what
all
happened? So I was like, okay, so he's being haunted by the events of the last film. All right, cool. But then when Solomon gets back into the fold, I'm like, oh,
don't go too far.
No, I won't go too far. But this movie was great.
So the first time I watched this, I didn't realize that this was the same character, that Solomon Lane was the same character, because his beard, it was incredible, and it just completely changes his face.
And the lack of glasses.
And he functionally changes the performance, which is fine. Like, the character can be affected by what's happened to him.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like such a huge departure from the first film that's a problem, or from the previous film that's a problem. But it is a different performance, let's be honest. Like, it doesn't have the same like eye twitching he's kind of energy that he had.
Yeah, he's less offensive and more defensive in this movie.
Yeah.
I really the opening has once again a mission, your mission should you choose to accept it, where we have the introduction of the apostles. And so the opening of this movie also kind of is a thesis statement on just Ethan in general, which I really like. I like that McQuarrie is really interested in who Ethan is. When he is presented with the option to save the uranium or save Luther, to him that's not an option. It's save both. But if I have to save anyone, it's Luther. And I really like that kind of conflict that he has, which Hundley rightfully says it's his greatest strength.
Before you get too far down that, because I do have things to say about that, I did want to highlight like the apostle stuff. What I think is so great about doing the apostles, doing the still fallout of the syndicate, like getting Lane did not mean the syndicate was done. Is it again, like, not to be too mean to Bond, but like it feels like a better execution on Spectre.
Oh, 100%.
You know, like on the idea of here they all are, and they are all individuals with goals and things, and they work inside this organization, but they are all dangerous. And so you kind of have to be concerned about the ones that are still out there. Like, it's not just over because Lane went away.
Right. We get the introduction, or the named introduction, of John Lark, which we know who that becomes. But yeah, I really like how they set up Ethan in this film, being this idea that he's not a person who will trade lives ever,
right?
Especially of his friends. He will not, like, to him, as Hundley says, to him all lives are equal, essentially, right? I didn't mean to say that.
And to your point, that being like, again, McQuarrie having looked at all of the films and like, what is a through line of Ethan? This is who Ethan is. And this is who Ethan has been since Mission Impossible 1. We made a mention of it when we were talking about the review there, that like very quickly we see that Ethan is unwilling to give up on the lives of others. Like that's the whole thing. Like, why is John Voight able to pull the trick on him in that movie? It's because he leaves his position because he's unwilling to sacrifice people on the team for the mission. And that's who he's been from the beginning. And I think they do a good job of bringing that here, but it's also something I want to highlight about why I love Ving Rhames in these movies so much, and why I love Luther, is because Luther has also consistently been a person who said, Ethan, I'm never worth more than the world.
Yeah.
Specifically him. He gets the mission. He is always like the general population being saved. That's the most important thing. 100%. And he's been like that voice of like, Ethan, you have to be the person to save the world, regardless of what happens to me. He's done that time and time again. So I really like that it's put directly in front of us at the beginning of this movie of it's Luther, and Luther saying, don't do it for me, Ethan. Not for me.
And this relationship that we now have with Hundley, who has now joined the IMF solely because of Ethan Hunt, because of how much he believes in this dude.
Yeah.
He's like, Ethan, you really messed up by allowing that plutonium to get away. But I know you're such a good person that you're gonna fix it all. I'm not really worried, because even though you caused the problem, I know you'll fix it. Because if not,
right,
then
that's what he's confused about the CIA director, the new CIA director, who's Angela Bassett.
Yeah. Yes. I don't know her name. I'm gonna look her character.
And she
Sloan.
She comes in and she's like, we don't trust you that you're going to do this. And Alec Baldwin's like, hey, look, I was there too, but you know what? I was wrong, and you're wrong too. Let's let this dude do his thing.
I've been in your situation. I see how you see it, but trust me, like, this is actually on purpose. They're good.
Yeah,
which good.
I think this is one of. I guess I haven't seen a lot of his performances. I really like Henry Cavill in this one. He's very good.
I honestly like. I also haven't seen him besides like his early like Hellraiser 7, like it's his DC stuff, and like and Man from Uncle and Witcher, and I think he is good. I really like him in this movie.
He's really good.
He's so good at being like the big macho American assassin. who also is our bad guy.
What I think is so
Yeah.
good about Cavill's character in this film is that he never feels like they do such a good job of not making him feel like he's the same as Ethan. He's a threat. He's dangerous. He's good at what he does. He's not the same as Ethan.
Ethan is a scalpel, and he's like a hammer.
Right.
Yeah.
Like Lark is good at the killing.
Yeah.
But he's not as resourceful as Ethan.
No.
And like I never feel like they try to even them out in a way. I feel like it's always that Lark is constantly put out of spot because he can't anticipate what Ethan will do.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's consistent and well written, that like Lark can be good at getting up close and personal and finishing the job.
Yeah.
But he can't predict Ethan, and he just can't. He's not that kind of guy. He's not resourceful enough to do it. He's not able to utilize his environment the same way Ethan is. He's just not that sharp. He's not sharp enough not to get caught.
Yeah.
Like that's what it comes down to. And I think that's really, really good.
Another incredible thing. Yeah.
Yeah. The whole Henry Cavill of it all. I mean, by the way, quick little thing. When I was watching this movie, I was watching with Zara, and she said, when she saw Henry Cavill, she's like, "Oh, mustache gate."
Yep.
And I was like, "Damn, I can't believe you remember that."
I honestly, when I finally saw this movie, I was like, that's right, the mustache.
Looks good.
And
Looks very good.
It does look
And
good.
it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I love it. I love his facial hair.
Worth
I mean-
every. Does that this mustache is the reason Warner Brothers has fallen?
This mustache has been the cause of Warner Brothers' downfall, indeed.
No,
because they
Warner
spent
Brothers
300
downfall
million.
was greenlighting a Justice League movie
I know.
before BVS.
I just
had
want
fully
to
come
say a
out.
mustache is the
No,
problem.
for sure. You know, since we're highlighting Cavill, I do think like Cavill works for me in such a way of feeling like he feels so real, like a real person inside of this agency, like a real double agent, a real, like, I don't have all the information to outcraft Ethan at every turn. Like I've got my knowledge and skill set, and that should be enough to carry me through. No shit, it's not.
Yeah.
And like that really makes him feel in a way stronger as a character, because he feels just as fallible for the same kinds of reasons as Ethan. He feels just as human, which is something I don't think they've nailed with villains in the past. Again, like I said, like the idea from the previous one was a better execution on like the idea of Mission Impossible 2, like being able to know everything Ethan would do. But this character in particular, Lark, is the better execution of the villain from Mission Impossible 2.
Yeah.
He might not do the exact same job as Ethan, but like he's in the same circle of work, and he feels like a real person who's limited by his skill set in the same way that Ethan is at times.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that he's the one to deliver, because he wants the CIA to suspect Hunt as being John Lark, and he says to Angela Bassett's character Sloane, how many times has Ethan been disavowed, been betrayed by his government? And to someone who doesn't know Ethan, that does sound bad, but to us, the audience, Ethan would never do that. That's not who Ethan is.
Also, what I love about rewatching this is that you can clock, when you know it, you can clock he's John Lark from this scene. Because the way he is so intense about delivering the speech, he's like, think about how many times he's been disavowed, this and this. How many times until a man has said he's had enough? Well, and like you're talking about another guy, why are you so angry?
Well,
bro?
and not only that, but that McQuarrie does such a good job of framing the moment when Ethan pulls the phone out of who he thinks is John Lark's pocket, so that we see that it's smashed.
It's smashed.
And Ethan can't use it, and then we focus on Cavill specifically saying, "This is the phone we got off John Lark," and that's not the phone, which means you don't necessarily know for sure he's John Lark, but he's full of shit.
He's messing something's up now. Yeah. Love it.
The bathroom fight is incredible.
Obviously,
man, like,
some of the best action scenes in the franchise are here.
I think this has the best physical fight, and it has the best chase. I think the stuff happening with Ethan escaping and with Ilsa, like Tom Cruise like getting hit on a motorcycle, all that shit, like the truck and stuff, like all that shit is incredible, dude. It looks so good. It's like it all looks so real. Like they are really. This is like I enjoyed Indiana Jones, but like half the time that looked like I know it wasn't real. Like this is some real ass practical shooting.
A lot of the chase stuff that's done in this movie is actually done on the streets of Paris, and you can tell.
Yeah,
and it looks really, really good. It looks really, really, really good. Go ahead, Ben.
When they're driving around the Arc de Triomphe, and I'm just like, how the hell did they get one of the busiest roundabouts in the entire planet so they can shoot this movie? How did they do it?
John Wick 4 is green screen.
Yeah.
For the Arc de Triomphe. But I think I don't know if necessarily going around is actually there, but the lead in and lead out, that is real.
Yeah.
I'd have to look into if the actual going around the Arc de Triomphe is real or not.
Either way, you're right. The action scenes in this film look absolutely incredible. I love the motorcycle chase scene in Morocco, but I will agree that the chase scenes in this one are also just, you're on the edge of your seat the whole time. Like the second when Ethan slams the gas to knock the armored car into the water and starts the whole chase, all the way to them awkwardly opening the garage door to see that random police officer writing a ticket. I mean,
I love the moment with that police officer because because Ethan is very clearly like, leave.
Just walk away.
You know, without knowing that Walker's a bad guy, right? He does know Walker will shoot her.
Yeah.
Just from knowing Walker's profile. That's the kind of thing. It's like, and it's again,
pulls his gun out.
Kind of going to the Mission Impossible 2 thing again. Like, you know, Ethan had an idea of the bad guy. Like, Ethan has an idea of who Walker is.
Yeah.
And how he'll function. And he knows, you know, like I think his fear genuinely in that moment is, it's both what the cop will do in that moment, like if she'll pull a gun or something, but it's like, and what she'll do with it. But it is a concern that Walker's going to shoot her. And he's like, I really need you to just go.
Again, this goes back to like, I won't trade lives.
Right.
And when she is shot, he retaliates to the people who shot her and then makes sure that she's okay before leaving.
Yeah. Dude's like for real. He's a superhero, like for real. Yeah. Like he's such a good person.
Now, before we get too far into this, we do have to talk about one of the most important things in this movie and one of the best scenes, frankly, which is that Benji finally wears a mask.
Yes,
and it's Wolf Blitzer.
Oh my, dude, that wolf scene. I forgot that entire, I forgot all that. I'm like, man, they really
I remember sitting in the theater and it's like nuclear attacks that have hit. And because Tom Cruise is selling the performance for Ethan, that this has happened and pissed him off because he feels like he failed and that there were 3 nuclear attacks around the world. And I'm like, oh shit, Mission Impossible has changed forever.
That effing scene. There are 2 scenes in this film that got me so good. This is the first one because the whole time when that dude wakes up in the hospital bed after Ethan loses the plutonium and you see him wake up and you hear the Situation Room theme, whatever, and I'm just saying, oh, this is why it's called Fallout.
And it's so interesting. It's so interesting because of how it's framed, right? Because the Wolf Blitzer sequence, we don't focus on Wolf Blitzer like he's a main character. We focus on it like he's background noise. And I think that's so brilliant to frame that.
Yeah, I really love that. Between this and Rogue Nation, like McQuarrie's really run a gamut on like the mask technology. The fact that it couldn't be used in the previous one because, frankly, that place built security so good to anticipate that technology exists.
Oh, their facial tics.
And so you have to like know the walk and everything at the gate. And then you get to this one and a lot of the goal is like hoping to copy John Lark's face and they can't. But the Wolf Blitzer thing works, and it works because it's kind of like when it is revealed, it's like a fun gag.
Yeah.
And those always land with the mask bits. And then when you come back around for the mask again in this film, you're not ready for it because you feel like you've gotten your mask gag. It's such a good built into reveal moment, but not too big, if you know what I mean. Just the way that like every director, I think, since 2 has been good at measuring like how do we use the mask, where do we use it and why,
and they're all different,
and they all find their own ways or to not use it, to the credit of 4. And I think McQuarrie finally personally pulling his trigger on how I'm going to use masks in this one is done very effectively.
There's a similar moment to 4 in this one when they can't get the mask, the face after John Lark, when they're like, okay, we'll just go ahead and hope they haven't met. And Walker's like, oh, you mean hope? And Ilsa's like, yeah, it must be new. But like, that's the same thing. Like, we just have to hope they've never met each other. We did that in 4. Let's see if it works again.
Oh, right. Vanessa Kirby's also in this movie. Oh my God. So many wonderful people.
As something I didn't catch, Max's daughter. Max from the first movie? The older lady who helps Ethan get the money on the train?
Definitely did not catch. No, I definitely didn't catch that. Okay. That's awesome.
Because I remember that she was related to someone from the first movie because McQuarrie was talking about it, and then this time when I was watching it, because I've watched them all in such quick succession, and she's like, "Let's talk about my mother." Max was such an interesting, and Ethan has a look like, "Oh, Max."
That's right.
And I was like, "Oh shit, that's really cool."
That makes sense why she's connected to the world in some way. Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I did not catch that when I first saw it. Now that you said it, I was like, oh shit, I remember now.
And I'm very happy that she and her brother are returning for Dead Reckoning.
Hell yeah. Her French brother.
Yeah, she's so good. I love Vanessa Kirby. I think she's excellent. So having her in this franchise is really fun. I especially love her like being kind of into
being a bad boy.
The idea of whoever she thinks Ethan is.
Yeah. Yeah, she's also like doing the double agent thing because she's actually working for the CIA and like she's just like, oh, you're a bunch of murderers. This all seems very fun.
And I love her getting on board with Ethan's like, are they here to kill me? Are they here to kill you?
Yeah.
Either way, right now, I'm your best shot out of here.
Yeah.
All right, I want to go home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, great knife fight. Great knife fight in that. The bunch of dudes attacking. Good, great stuff.
We just going back to talking about like the guy they have that they trick on the bed in the hospital and all that. I get a little confused, and I really tried to pay attention in this film about whose ideology it's supposed to be.
It's Lark's.
Right. And like it's the weird thing is that like I really like Henry Cavill in this movie. I really like the performance of him in this movie. I never get the idea that I can connect the dots on that manifesto to who he is.
Sure.
It presented in this film. I'm like, these things don't feel like they completely one-to-one line up. It feels more like it should be the manifesto of the other guy who's in the hospital bed. Like the way the characters are presented. I know that they say it's Lark's, and so I was ready for that. And I'm like, man, I just don't totally see this guy who wrote a manifesto in Henry Cavill.
Sure.
Sparkz, I'm just saying, ripped people can also type on a typewriter.
That's not what I mean.
Can you imagine?
That's not what I mean.
My fingers are so big.
This is a big dude. Just like
I feel you. I get that. Like definitely that the doctor's like, this is Lark's manifesto, and if you read it to the world, that's enough. And then like to counteract that, like when it is revealed that Lark's like, when I wrote those words, we really don't go more into that than just like he hates the government. So like. It is this kind of thing, like he is just like a better version of the MI2 villain.
That's kind of the thing is that I didn't need him to like have a scene with Ethan where he like expounds on why this is his belief system.
Yeah.
But I do think you had an opportunity for him to say it to Lane.
Yeah, that's true.
And like I just feel like I could have used a little bit of that like oomph of like you are saying like there's a villain in here who has like an ideology, because we have broken down that like what Lane was after was like breaking the system, and he wanted money to do so in the previous film, and now he's just about revenge.
Yes.
And he's just kind of like attached himself onto what Lark wants to do, and he's like, well, that's a perfect way for me to go about doing this.
Yeah, Lane definitely seems like more unhinged, and like by the end of the movie he's just ready to die with the bomb.
Right.
He's like, my mission's complete, the world's gonna suck after this.
You can't stop me.
You can't stop it.
Oh, damn it, they stopped me again.
Damn it.
The second mask reveal that we've alluded to a little bit, when it's revealed that Benji is actually Lane. It's so good because you don't see when the switch happened.
Right.
And when Alec Baldwin is like, when he kisses, like, I'd give you a loaded gun, but this one's loaded though.
Yeah.
Takes out another gun. I'm like, dude, he's like, I got the guy.
You were doing so well up until then.
That might be that Lane one might be my favorite mask reveal too. And it also happens again in Fallout. Like,
the thing is that it's a good reveal. It's a good play. I think Harris does a good job of like when it starts to break of playing Benji.
Being Benji?
Yeah, like when Benji loses confidence. Yeah. I think he captures it. Again, like it showcases Lark really well. Like Lark is confident and hot-headed, and so like he takes too long to think of what Ethan would do.
Yeah.
And I think that really plays for the character. It's really a solid beat, and it also is like my favorite bit of Baldwin in the entire film.
Good acting, sir. Yeah.
I would-
He gets killed by a stab in the chest, and I'm just saying, if this was the Star Wars universe, it wouldn't even be a scratch.
Yeah, there was real quick because I'm about to say something. They like when that happened, Sparkz and I were like, "So did he die? They didn't show his body." And then Angela Bassett's like, and Agent Hunley, who always believed in you, speaking in the past tense. Nah, he's dead. He died.
I was going to say that second mass reveal had me just like bewildered, like because you don't see the switch, you don't see. That was what I was talking about, how these the mask reveals in Fallout are my favorite ones because they completely subvert your expectations. You're constantly like, who's who? You're like second guessing everything, and I love it. Like I mean, obviously everything just goes like tits up for everyone else, but the fact that like for a small second, like when Henry Cavill is essentially talking to Lark, is like to Lane, and saying like, I wrote this disc, I need this plutonium, I need X, Y, and Z, and then the fact that he gets got, but then it has his own trump card because he had members of Syndicate in that strike team. It's like, I know this is a win for the character, for the heroes, but I know something really shitty is about to go down right now.
The go moment when they think they have Lark and he says go.
Do you?
Which parallels the moment, the first mask reveal with Benji as Wolf Blitzer when he says go, and then they, because that's in it. I don't know. It's a nice parallel. I like it.
Yeah. The oh, we got him.
Yeah.
Oh, do you?
And again, this is one of the things where like this movie, when you look at it, it's like really complicated. Like we just had like a reveal, and then upon another reveal, and like, but it all it flows so naturally. Like I'm never confused. Like it all. It's just really well crafted.
And I think the good thing that these films do, especially this one, but in general, is that they never. While they will have other characters doubt Ethan, they never let you think that.
Yes.
And like it's not just because you follow him, it's because you always see the flaw, even if you don't get all the information. You see the flaw in why they think that.
Yeah.
So that you are never put in the position where you are doubting Ethan. And I think that's where it would get too confusing.
Yeah.
If you had to, like, in that scene, like, question, like, oh God, has Ethan lost his mind? Has he made up the Syndicate? Has he? You never have to be in that position.
Yeah.
And I think that's really smart because that's where it gets too muddled when you have to like doubt. You have them grounding you.
Yeah. I love our final confrontation in the location that it's at, bringing Julia in, like the ultimate revenge. Like the second that Julia sees Ethan, like, oh man,
he was here for.
Man,
he was here on vacation.
Yeah.
No, I'm working.
No, I'm working,
and like that being the clue in for her, like, shit.
Like the I'm so sorry when they speak for just a second.
I really like bringing back Julia because again, like it talks a bit about what I talked with like Rogue Nation. McQuarrie like really likes this franchise and really likes playing with the pieces that have already been set up in this franchise. So when Julia shows up at the end of this movie and Ethan, and they have a moment where Ethan's like, oh shit, I'm so sorry.
To be honest with you, and it's because of the use of Julia in this film that made me like retroactively think about it, but credit where credit's due. As much as I have to say it for RSI and Kurtzman on Mission Impossible 3, the smartest thing that was done in the franchise at that point was make Ethan fall in love and get married, because it changed the character going forward to not fall into Mission Impossible 2's I'm a playboy in every movie bit.
James Bond.
Yeah. So we dodged getting a repeat of James Bond and therefore made Ethan feel like a more sincere, compassionate character, because you can't have him be the compassionate person they want us to believe he is if he's constantly just like passing from woman to woman in every movie.
Very true.
And I think they like swerved out of the way of the bullet that Mission Impossible 2 was possibly heading them towards.
Right.
By making that choice. And I think that was very smart to do at that moment, because even if Julia wasn't directly referenced in every single film, or they weren't together in all the films, the idea that is who Ethan was at heart has lingered ever since and has informed on who he is ever since, and is coming up again with Ilsa. Like I love her in this movie, and kind of spoiling my rankings, one of the reasons why this film is higher for me than 4 is mostly because of Ving Rhames, because this film I think accentuates that Ving Rhames is like, he's like the voice to Ethan's heart
Yeah.
in the movies. And so when he's absent for a lot of the movie, I do feel it.
Yeah.
And having him here, it's one of my favorite scenes.
Him and Julia?
Is him. That's a good one, but him and Ilsa.
Oh yeah.
When he's sitting there and he's saying,
Oh,
in the time I've known him, Ethan has only been serious about 2 women.
Yeah.
And he gets teared up when he's like, and the way he cares about you, I'm afraid for him, Ilsa.
Yeah.
And I think that's really great.
Yeah.
I think like the way Luther cares about Ethan is what helps convince me about who Ethan is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I really like that sequence. Ilsa's introduction in this film, so she's been tasked by MI6 to kill Lane as a test. And
prove her loyalty.
I really like when Lane and Ethan are driving through the streets, just the two of them in the road, and after they see Ilsa, Lane has the line, "That was Ilsa." Interesting.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't know what's going on, and he's just like, what have you done, Ethan?
Yeah. Ilsa and Ethan have a great like little moment like in between like during like an orchard, the garden, and it's just like beautifully shot because it's all like the symmetrical trees, and it's just like they have such good chemistry. And again, these are 2 incredible actors, and it's like they're saying so much without saying anything. All you have to say is like, "Don't get in my way, because I will go through you." And
well,
like they want to see so much
of
more.
So much of the beginning is Ilsa is not talking.
Yeah.
Ethan is gleaning what's going on by what he already knows about Ilsa, MI6, and kind of what the situation is. So he puts it together without her even saying a word.
Yeah.
How do you know that? Why are you here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good stuff from Ethan. Again, like specifically citing the garden scene, like that is really using Paris very well. I think like both for action and for scenes like that, the locations in Paris are very well utilized in this film. I think this is one of the most gorgeous of the films because of how well it uses its locations, whether we're talking about like the finale with the helicopters, which is beautiful.
Cashmere. That's it.
Or Paris or what have you. I think like the locations look incredible in this movie in a way that like just stand out even above all the previous Mission Impossibles.
100%.
Even Rogue Nation.
The helicopter chase scene, I was like hooting, hollering, cheering for for Ethan to get up to Henry Cavill's to Walker. Oh man,
I really like real quickly, Ben, because like the best part about that helicopter sequence for me is I always love it when they remind us that Ethan's crazy. Because then there'll be because like what are we gonna do? Play Rock'em Sock'em Robots with the helicopters? And yes, that's exactly what Ethan's going to do. He is going to ram them.
First, he's gonna try to drop some cargo on him and miss. And
but as soon as that doesn't work, he's going for him. And like I love the trying to get him off this tail because Ethan does not matter that Ethan is also in a helicopter that will crash. He will crash into them.
Also, Ethan doesn't know how to fly a helicopter. But he's just super spy. He's like, all right, gotta check the altitude, check this, gotta go up.
I love that crazy son of a bitch just being like fallible because he's like, all right, payload, and like takes it up above, tries to drop it, misses, and he's like, God damn it.
Yeah.
He even has a great line, like, hold this for me.
Yeah, hold that for me. That was another mission accomplished moment. Just like, hold this for me. Shit.
That much.
Yeah.
There's some really, this movie is just really well shot in general, but one of my favorite shots of the movie is when they lock the camera in the back of the truck that Lane is in as it's tumbling into the water, and so you don't see the car turning, you see the water turning.
Inception.
Yes.
It's the Inception thing.
Yeah, it looks really, really good. It's a great looking shot.
This really is like one of the best looking big blockbusters I've ever seen. Like for real.
We highlighted it in Rogue Nation a little bit, but the imaginary sequence for this one where Ethan imagines going with them and like trying to hang to the back, not kill that many good people, police in his mind, good people, innocent people, and then still ending up having to shoot a cop in the face to sell it, and he's like, I can't accept this.
Yeah,
I can't do it that way.
New plan.
I like Walker's little character beat where is it true that Lane did this? Is it true that Lane did this? Is it true that Lane did? You're like, dude, no,
everything
you heard is true.
If it makes your skin crawl, it's a yes.
Oh, son of a bitch, you're the guy that caught him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a good reveal because nobody would know, and he's like, "Oh, you're the guy that caught him."
Mm-hmm.
There's also the running chase, where Ethan is running after Walker.
Yes.
Incredible Tom Cruise running once again.
Yeah, the like I'm jumping from a window. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I was in 2D.
Sorry, left. I'm sorry. I had the screen flipped. Oh, I was in 2D. Oh goodness.
The lady that just gives him
and then
the lady who's like, yeah, go for it.
Jumping on the bottom of the elevator and Cavill just staring down at him.
Yeah.
Really good. Really good.
He's like, dude, like, what are you doing?
There's when he's in the office building, and then he's like, left, right, left, okay. And he sees the girl gets up out of the chair, and he's like, thanks, and he like throws the chair through the window. But the best bit is what Ryan highlighted, which is the older lady just going like, well, you gonna jump?
Yeah.
Wait, right? Turns it around. Sorry, I mean left. Like, you're still going out a window, man.
Like even earlier when he was
out a window,
or even earlier when he was like going up the stairs and Benji's
why is he running in circles?
Exactly.
You can see this is a funny movie, man. Yeah.
There's a lot of comedy that comes from Benji, I appreciate that Benji's kind of like this the comedy the comedic relief of a lot of these films, but also he gets like really good moments. These, you know what? Blanket statement. All these characters are really well written.
Yeah,
I think Simon Pegg gets a lot of the verbal jokes, but there's a lot of like physical comedy that goes on. Like to the credit of Luther, like Benji being like, "Why do I have to pretend to be Lane?" And Luther's just saying, "They're like
skinny, white man.
I physically cannot be this man.
Technology is not there yet."
So Benji gets to do gets to be masked twice in this film, and well done payoff from the entire franchise, where he's just like, I get to wear a mask.
So many masks. Look at that. Yeah. Man, we get a wonderful, obviously, like we talked about the helicopter chase, but a final fun confrontation with a not a two-face Henry Cavill, but a third-face Henry Cavill. And the way that he punches in this movie, he's just like, like it feels like if he punched me, like I would explode. Yeah. Like fist up the North Star, I would literally explode.
Yeah, Cavill feels big, bulky, and strong. He's waving them Superman arms around.
Oh yeah.
I really, really like the way that the two, before like Lark is revealed to be, what he is, just Walker and Cruz in general, when they encounter each other, the way that they banter about each other's way of doing things and job and business. And then of course we didn't talk about, but the jump, out of the plane into Paris.
Oh yeah.
Just an incredible scene. Like, you afraid of lightning? Shit, unconscious.
Oh my God. I forgot. Yeah. So he gets struck by lightning and Ethan has to save him and he gives him his oxygen tank. But then he wakes up and when he lands, he's like, oh, it looks like you lost your oxygen tank. I'm like, oh my God, the balls on this man. I don't even know he passed out.
The Halo sequence is incredible. I love the transition from letterbox to IMAX.
Yes.
Which is so good because they shot the two kind of big stunt action sequences in IMAX, and the transition to go into the Halo jump was really awesome.
Yeah, the first time they do it for the Halo jump and the helicopter chase, they like bring the aspect ratio purposefully open, and then you lose a little bit of that effect in the helicopter one when you have to keep cutting back and forth.
It does,
unfortunately, but it still looks gorgeous. So like on my TV, who gives a shit? It's huge.
It's true.
I did want to also highlight, just speaking of transitions, there's some really nice ones in here that are like through smoke, or Ilsa walks off screen and her hair carries the scene into the next bit. A lot of really smooth flowing transitions in this one that I think look really good.
We talked a little bit about Julia already, but I really love that she goes to help Luther.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Love it.
I think that's
How can I help?
Character moment.
Gets there.
And just like the way that they play with each other, and then Luther at the end, like, you don't deserve to be here, and like, go be with your husband. There's nothing more you can do.
Yeah.
Paul. What's the husband's name? The actor.
Wes Bentley.
Wes Bentley.
Bentley.
Yeah.
That's the actor.
Dr. Paul. Seems like a good guy.
Oh, I wonder if he won't be in the next one.
Oh my God. See, I made the joke that this was his villain origin story.
Yeah. See you around, Doc.
Doc.
Yeah.
He knows. Like, Doc, he knows.
The second he's like, "Yes, your friend over there showed up with half the Indian army. See you around, Doc."
I love like we've had a couple Mission Impossible movies where like it ends with like 1 to 2 seconds left, and I love that this one it doesn't end with like 3, 2, 1, and then like it cuts to white, and it's like, I mean, I know we didn't just like blow up half the world or whatever, but like what happened? Well, and it's cheeky,
especially coming down on the sun, to make it look like there was an explosion, and then like bringing it back in, and you're like, no, they did it.
Vista that you see, and Tom like he spits out the thing that he had to bite. Like, how close were we? How close? We were always. What does he say? Like too close?
Usual.
Like,
the usual.
Yeah.
Love it. The when Ilsa does come back into the scene and Ethan hits her with the you shouldn't even be here, and she's like, and you should have come with me. Which is really good. I really like that.
Yeah.
Cannot fight the friction.
I wanted to say real quickly on the fade to white kind of sequence at the end when they say, I really appreciate that they can't talk to each other. They can't talk to Ethan. He's out of range. Yeah. And I really appreciate that they're like, I guess just on one we go. And if we're right, hopefully we just got to trust Ethan.
It's what other choice do you have?
First, they're like, okay, we're going to do it on 2. Why are we going to do it on 2? Do you really want it to be that close? Like, we're about to die. You guys.
We all have to agree.
Yeah. It's tense.
I really love the tenseness of it, the tension of the whole sequence, and the absolute faith in Ethan Hunt that these people have. Like he'll do it. We'll win. We will win.
The bunker scene where Hunley does catch up to the team, and you get like a lot of expositional reveals. I think it's still delivered very well. That like what even is the plan? It's like, well, Benji's going to be Lane.
Oh yeah,
and then he has to explain to everyone that Ilsa's on the scene, because not everyone knows that Ilsa's on the scene trying to kill Lane, which he now knows. And then we get the explanation that the White Widow was part of a trap working with the CIA and all that. I think that's all done very, very well. Baldwin's like really, really good in this. I mean, it's a shame they killed him.
Yeah, it is.
I liked having a secretary we could reference to.
Yeah,
me too.
Ooh, I wonder if we're gonna get a new celebrity secretary for the next movie.
I wonder if it's Kittredge.
Oh, he comes back around. I don't know
because he's in Dead Reckoning. Would he be the secretary now?
I don't think you could become the secretary 20 years after you've been the secretary.
Well, he wasn't the secretary before. He was just the director of IMF.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
So he could have gotten a promotion.
And now he hates the IMF.
Or he could be a bad guy.
Why was the director of IMF working in the CIA?
Which one?
Him, Kittredge.
Kittredge wasn't CIA. He was IMF.
No, I know. I'm saying, why was he in the CIA building? Because in the building when they're stealing the list.
Yeah, because the IMF has in that first movie, like in the show, the IMF is supposed to be a division of the CIA.
Right. Yeah, I thought that was the case, right? Like they're operating out of the CIA, and now we're supposed to believe that they've been extracted.
Yeah, they have their own office space now.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
No, I don't know. I don't know if I have much more to say about this film, actually.
I've fought the friction enough. I think it's great.
I'm just scrolling through some of my notes. Like it's highlighting Michelle Monaghan being excellent. I'm so glad that she got to have this like comeback and closure with Ethan's story.
A good send-off.
I think it's really, really good. I think it makes a lot of sense, and it retains a lot of the heart and humanity of who Ethan's been since she showed up.
And I love that, like, Ethan, like, you see the guilt that he has, like, and he starts crying like, Julie, I'm so sorry. It's like, Ethan, nothing happened because you were here. Yeah. I this is my life, but I know I'm safe because of you. So like, I don't have to worry because I know you're always there to protect me, even if we're not together for 10 years at this point. Like that's beautiful, dude.
It's a really interesting way to frame Ethan, because she's like, the world is safer because you're in it. And I know that because I know you're in it, I will feel safe forever. And I really like that kind of character beat and framing of Ethan, because Ethan is this lunatic who will just do whatever it takes to save the world. He is the goodest man in the whole world. He's
crazy man.
He's the goodest crazy man, and you're just like, yeah, I believe it. Like people will never know what he does for them, but they are safer because he's there.
Oh, it's crazy to think like how far Lane went to hurt Ethan. Lane set up an entire like humanitarian effort thing in Kashmir to get Julia there. that is some eighth level thinking. Like, holy shit, that's a lot of work to get like the doctors without borders involved in that shit. Like, man, Lane, you are sadistic. That's a villain, dude.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to highlight the action beats for Ilsa and Benji in fighting Lane in the cabin.
Yeah.
I think that's a really great action scene. The two of them teaming up against him. It feels really, really down and dirty and
Benji holding his own for a little bit, but then no, you're not quite the spy.
And desperate, and like, you know, like Lane's got the bits like when he's getting the peg on the rope, and he's got like one where he like kicks down the rope to pull Benji straight to the floor.
Oh, that hurt.
There's a lot of really good beats in there, and I really like their cooperation together, and it gives Ilsa an opportunity again to like be a badass.
Hell yeah.
Which is
I
really
like
cool.
that. I like that Benji can hold his own, right? He's not the spy that Ethan is, but he's not afraid to get into that fight for what's right.
Right.
He's not the.
But he also
he's-
can't match the head of the syndicate.
No, but what I do love about Benji is that actually a lot of the members on the team, or even like throughout the movies, is that they're never like the stereotypical person. Like Luther and Benji, they're both big tech guys, but Benji wants to go out in the field. Normally, whenever a tech person goes into the field, the agent, like the seasoned agent, is like, "Oh, you tech guys, you're always going to slow me down. You're lame and whatever." You know, they can't hold themselves in a fight. Seeing Benji's character go from the dude in the computer chair to I'm in the field, I'm kicking ass, getting my ass kicked sometimes, but he's still out there kicking ass and taking names. And Luther also being out there fighting the good fight as well. I don't know why, but I just really enjoy that, because you always see, like, a lot of times in media, you see computer nerds being computer nerds. They're stuck behind a computer. They're like doing the whole typing thing. Whereas in this one's like, yeah, their technical prowess helps, and they're there still ready to fight. It's not like, oh, I don't like violence. I can't fight. It's more like, damn it. And then they put their stuff down and they're ready to go.
For sure. Also, we got to highlight that absolute badass beat of the hook to the face that pulls Cavill to his fiery demise.
I didn't remember because I remember the cliff stuff, and I know he falls off, but like maybe,
You hear it.
Maybe he survives. No,
Chunk. You hear that. You hear that thing land
that's
in
in
his
that
skull and pull him to his death.
Essentially, the helicopter, or the remains of the helicopter, was get over here.
Yeah.
yeah.
The whole rock climbing sequence is so tense, because you're like, I've seen the movie before, and I'm like, get up there, Ethan, get up there, climb faster.
The make of any, again, movies that like I rewatch and like you can still make me feel just as intense and like and feel tense, like even though I know the outcome. It's just really good filmmaking,
Right.
And like McQuarrie just has a grasp on what this franchise, like what he thinks it should be, and it's working. So I'm so glad I'm getting at least 2 more of these movies, guaranteed.
Yeah.
McQuarrie has such an interesting way of looking at this franchise, where he looks at it as an organic being. I don't know how much of any of you guys have heard him talk, and probably Ryan has quite a bit, but
I do recommend real quick, like McQuarrie does like epic, like 6-hour spoiler cast on every Mission Impossible movie with the Empire podcast. Like I super recommend you guys listening to it. He goes into every detail. It is so fascinating.
He will talk a lot about, like, you know, we wrote it into the script, but Mission has its own, has a mind of its own. So if it's not working, it will tell you. And he has this whole idea that like what a Mission Impossible film needs to be, the film will tell you what it is. You have to be willing to follow what the film wants to tell you.
Right.
I find that such an interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah, it feels like for a franchise that is quite complicated, it really feels like kind of like go with the flow in terms of making the story. And you build it out as you go instead of like, oh, we have an endpoint in mind. And that's just like, I think makes for really engaging material.
It goes back to like Solomon Lane was supposed to die at the end of the film. The Impossible films didn't want that to happen. So you'd be willing to follow what the story wants, what the right story is going to be, and the film will tell you what that is.
Yeah.
I do want to highlight, I think one of the most important lines we've had in the franchise is from Bassett at the end, which is we we need people like you to care about the one life as much as they care about the millions, so I never have to.
Yeah, because I'm soulless.
Which is but it's also so definitional of Ethan. It's ever, like it's highlighting that like Ethan does both.
Yeah.
It's on either or, like, it's Ethan does both.
Yeah. Spider-Man.
I think it's really good. I will say that, like, there's something about the ending that does feel like it kind of rushes us out of there.
Sure.
Something about, like, the overlay of Angela Bassett's narration while we're getting, like, the sum up of the team looking at each other and like, yeah, we did it. And then it's like credits. And I'm like, oh, all right, I guess we're done.
Yeah.
It's just a little abrupt, but like the movie's great.
We haven't talked about it for this movie. I think the music in this movie is incredible.
Yes.
I think the music is it's just I think it's the same composer as the last movie. I didn't look it up. I could be wrong.
I got you.
Whether it is or not, I think this is a substantial upgrade from the last movie. Like, whoever this composer is obviously not a Giacchino as well, but this movie has so much variation in types of Mission Impossible themes, and the doodle-doodle-doodle-doodle is throughout the entire movie. Elsa's theme throughout the entire movie. I think, like, next to Giacchino, like, this is the best score for this movie, I think, or for this franchise.
Lorne Balfe, I believe, is his name.
And it was Joe Kramer on Rogue Nation, so it's a different one.
Okay, this one is this is my second favorite.
Well, you'll be happy to know he's composing Dead Reckoning.
Yes!
Yeah. I think Fallout has a very good score. It's a Ghost Protocol and this one I think have the best scores of the franchise for sure.
It's for real. It's the piano that do. And I was like, oh, that's so spy-like. I love it.
I think one of the reasons, besides Giacchino just being like a known name and a genius, just a standout with his jazz orchestrations, why Ghost Protocol is so impressive to me is because you had him in 3 and then you heard him like step up on 4.
Yes.
And like but that doesn't change the fact that I think the score here is really, really excellent. Really excellent.
After rewatching these films and kind of knowing the trajectory of why this happened, I'm really upset that the Bond films decided to go the way of the Bourne films and not the way of the Mission Impossible films. Because I think I'm so kind of sad that, like, Bourne changed the spy genre so distinctly that it became indistinguishable to action films, but Mission Impossible was able to walk that line so successfully for so many years through the Bourne phase of filmmaking, and continues to be its own identity in the spy genre, with gadgets and with fun and with high stakes and with great action. Like, I hope for the next Bond franchise that they take cues from Mission.
Yeah, I think that's very likely to happen too, right? Like, you'll probably get something that's some kind of blend between like what John Wick has brought to action films and this.
Yeah.
Because like these are definitional of this moment in film, and like it depends on how soon we get our next Bond, right? But like Daniel Craig's era suffers from a decision to go gritty and to go towards what you're describing, like the Bourne stuff, and like it can't, even when it decided it wanted to, it couldn't quite escape that identity.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And like I just feel like bottom line, don't run away from the gadgets. That's part of the fun of watching these films. And the Craig Bond films very light on gadgets, almost nothing. But like Ethan Hunt has gadgets that they would have given Pierce Brosnan if he had continued as Bond. Like,
for sure,
such cool and fun gadgets. And what do we talk about for Rogue Nation? A lot of these gadgets are super cool and memorable. Like that's part of the fun of talking about these spy films is these cool gadgets.
Yeah. I like Fallout. I think that this isn't a slight on Fallout. I think Rogue Nation does have like some of the best.
Yeah.
Like we I feel like we have a actual buffet of gadgetry that we see in Rogue Nation. Like, we do see some good stuff here. I don't mean to say
it's definitely less,
but like Rogue Nation has like, there's so much on the table there that's like, oh my god, look at all these wonderful gadgets we're using.
All of our favorite toys.
The every film introduces a new way to make masks. Very funny. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
This one got broke because Henry Cavill smashed his face with it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anything else you want to say about this one?
I'm so glad that we got to do this, watch all these movies again, because like I think it's just a great franchise, and like it's really cool, like, being online, like
everybody's doing it. This is something I have to say, this is something I've enjoyed about all our franchises this year. It happened with Scream, and it happened with Indiana Jones, and it's happening now with Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
A whole bunch of people online also did the same thing we're doing and revisited the films, and so they're having these conversations about, damn, these movies are good.
Yeah, specifically like Rogue Nation and Fallout. There's so many clips. I'm like, damn, these movies do rule. And the reviews for the new one are out. Spoilers, it's good. I'm hearing really good things. So like I'm so jazzed. Again, even if McQuarrie said like he wants to do more, we're getting at least 2 more of these movies at this quality level. Like, give me a break, dude. We're so blessed. So hashtag blessed.
Rate it?
I would give 10. I think this is a perfect action movie. Like this is like a John Wick 2 situation where like I have almost no faults, and any faults I have are so minuscule they you don't even notice them for me.
Sparkz?
Yeah, it's a 10.
Oh yeah,
It's a 10 for sure. This is the one that like I think I can't find a bad thing about this movie. Like I think it hits on every level that it should. I think it has truly captured what a Mission Impossible movie can do at its best. And again, like I really love Ghost Protocol. I find it incredibly entertaining, but a weaker villain and a lack of Ving Rhames puts it underneath Fallout for me.
Ben, rate it?
I would say 9.5, only because that needle is just still like going. It's like jumping between 9.5 and 10.
Still big score, baby.
I mean, this was still my first time watching it, and I loved this movie. I had a blast. It was this and Rogue Nation. To me, they're like a nice, cohesive whole story. And I am super excited for Dead Reckoning now. I did not know that the White Widow was going to be back in Dead Reckoning. Now I'm like excited because I kind of like her.
I'm really happy with a lot of the characters keep coming back because it makes the show feel more like an ensemble. It makes the movie feel more like an ensemble piece, and I appreciate that. Absolutely. Now, if we can only get Paula Patton back,
dude, there's no way. Paula Patton and did Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, the Irish guy, did he die?
No, he's alive.
Okay, I don't need him as much. But I need Paula Patton back yesterday.
No, I don't need Jonathan Rhys-Meyers and Maggie Q back as much as I enjoy them.
Yeah.
I do really like Paula Patton's character.
Yeah.
And I could use her coming back. I could use Renner back too if he wanted to. Like I wouldn't mind it. Like there's good use for those characters.
I don't know if they'll be like in Dead Reckoning Part 1. That kind of feels like a ending the franchise kind of thing. But like they could show for fun for like they don't need to do that. It's Mission Impossible. Do what you want. I'm just so excited for Dead Reckoning. It's out. It comes out tomorrow.
Renner and Paula Patton are on my wish list of characters come back. Hey, if we could get Kittredge back, we can get anyone.
Yeah, see, that's the thing.
Anything can happen.
We got MI1 guy back. Oh, we can get anybody. Hell yeah.
I say it's a 9 once more. Do we want to rank them?
Yes.
Should we? Okay,
so we
do it.
touched base last time, so we know that the ranking was 4, 3, 1, 2. We all agreed last time that that's where things are.
Yeah.
So where do these two fit now?
I can't say it out loud. I mean I have to write it down or else I'll be confused.
We all know what the titles are, so you can go ahead and use the numbers, guys, just for efficiency's sake. I can go first because I know what it is. It's 6, 4, 5, 3, 1, 2.
That's 4,
5, 3,
so
1, 2.
I like Fallout the best, and then it's Ghost Protocol, and then it's Rogue Nation. Yeah.
Ben?
6, 5, 4, 3, 1, 2.
Yep, that's
4, 3, 1, 2. Okay, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I think I'm here. Okay, so it's Ghost Protocol at the number 1 spot, and then it's at the number 2 spot. Fallout, Rogue Nation 3 and 1, and then in the okay.
Boo! I can make no decisions about
that's my bullshit.
Incredible.
Brandon's pulling my bullshit right now.
Yeah.
No, it so it's 4. I think I'm pretty good with 4, 6, 5, 3, 1, 2.
We're all the same except for like just like the top ones. Yeah, they're all good. These are all.
And
good.
again, like really like the middle 4 can like switch at any moment because I really like all these.
Yeah.
All right.
What we all agreed across the board is that Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation, and Fallout are all just
bangers.
Like absolutely great films.
God,
what a fun time.
4, 5, 6 is just like a great, like you want to watch the greatest like spy trilogy. It's just like bam, like incredible stuff.
Ben, I'm so glad you got to go through these. And that you're ready for Dead Reckoning with us. This is
ready.
Such fun. I'm thrilled genuinely that we get to experience this next one together.
Me too.
Me
I'm really
too.
excited. I was really sad that we couldn't review Fallout together.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we're gonna get to do Dead Reckoning.
Yeah. 5 years ago, crazy.
Okay. Shall we get into our book club then?